I've ever wanted to visit a city where history is close enough to touch, Samarkand is one of them. It's one of the most iconic places in Central Asia, and we're here today to take you on a journey through some of its most landmark sites. Let's get it started.
Samarkand is one of those cities you keep seeing everywhere. Photos, documentaries, history books, and you kind of wonder, is it actually that impressive in real life? Spoiler, it is. Samarkand has been called many things: the Pearl of the East, the Mirror of the World, the Garden of the Soul. But honestly, none of these names fully explain what the city feels like. It's one of the oldest cities in the world, more than 2,700 years old, and for centuries it stood at the center of the Silk Road. Different cultures, ideas, and people all passed through here, leaving something behind. At its peak under Amir Timur, Samarkand became the capital of a powerful empire. Today, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
And we just arrived in Samarkand. The train ride took about 3.5 hours from Tashkent, and it's actually one of the easiest ways to travel between the two cities.
Most travelers start in the capital, Tashkent. It's a pretty smooth trip, but you have a few choices when it comes to the railway. Now, when you're booking your tickets, you'll see two main names, the Afrosiyob and the Shark. The Afrosiyob is the famous high-speed train. It's faster and a bit more expensive, and tickets sell out weeks in advance.
We were taking the Shark train behind me, but there is also an option for Afrosiyob train, which is a bit more expensive.
Even though the Shark is the slow option, it's still super comfortable and gives you some great views of the countryside along the way. Once you step off the platform, you're only 15 minutes away from 2,500 years of history. Make sure to buy tickets in advance, as they sell out fast enough.
And most of the historical sites of Samarkand city are located just about 15 minutes away from the train station. So let's go and explore the city.
Our first stop is the Amir Timur Mausoleum, one of the most important landmarks in Samarkand. To understand the city, you have to understand the man who made it his capital. He built an empire, and he wanted his state to be the most powerful and his capital to be the most beautiful city in the world.
This is the mausoleum of Amir Timur, a powerful ruler who made Samarkand the capital of his West Empire in the 14th century.
From the outside, the mausoleum already looks impressive. But what's interesting is that it wasn't meant to stand alone like this. Originally, this was part of a larger complex built using something called the Kosh technique, basically mirror symmetry, where buildings face each other in a balanced layout. There used to be a madrasah and a khanaqah here, both connected to Muhammad Sultan, Timur's grandson. A madrasah was like a school for future leaders and scholars, and a khanaqah was a spiritual space where Sufis would pray, gather, and sometimes stay overnight. Those buildings didn't survive, but their foundations still shape the space you see today. And of course, the first thing you notice is that huge turquoise dome. If you look closely, it's not smooth. It's made up of around 64 ribs, which give it that textured, almost sculpted look. And here is something even more interesting: the dome actually has two layers, an inner dome and a larger outer one. The inner dome supports the structure, while the outer one is designed to look taller and more dramatic from the outside, almost like it's reaching toward the sky. As you walk toward the grand entrance, you'll see beautiful tile patterns of verses from the Quran. These sacred words give the whole entrance a peaceful spiritual feel before you even step inside.
This is one of the most landmark sites in this city, and interestingly enough, the mausoleum itself was not devoted initially to Amir Timur, but was initially devoted to his beloved grandson Muhammad Sultan, who died unexpectedly while still young. And when Amir Timur died himself in 1405, he was buried here in this mausoleum, along with the male members of his dynasty.
Once you step inside, the atmosphere shifts immediately. This space feels incredibly rich. Gold details, deep blue mosaics, and intricate patterns everywhere you look. You can tell this was meant to be something exceptional, built by some of the finest craftspeople of that time. In fact, nearly 15 kilograms of gold leaf were used inside, adding to that sense of scale and grandeur. Now, something important, what you see here are not the actual graves. Like in many Muslim mausoleums, these are symbolic markers, while the real burial chamber is underground. Right in the center is Timur's stone made of dark green jade. Here are buried Timur himself, his grandson Muhammad Sultan, his grandson Ulugh-Bek, his sons Shahrukh and Miranshah, as well as his spiritual mentor Mir Said Baraka. And toward the back is the grave of his respected teacher Sheikh Said Umar.
Our next stop is Shah-i-Zinda. This is a stunning complex of mausoleums built mostly between 14th and 15th centuries. Most prominent figures and royalty of the Timur dynasty are buried here.
Just a short drive away, it's a narrow street of tombs, and the blue tiles here are so bright they almost look electric. The first thing you notice is the color. All these shades of blue, and somehow none of them look the same. To get the full story of this marvelous complex and why people travel from all over the world to pray here, I talked to Khurshid Narimov. He told me the legend of the living king and how the site survived the Mughal invasions that leveled the rest of the city.
So, Shah-i-Zinda is a necropolis, an ensemble of the mausoleums where the representatives of royalty have been buried of the epoch of Amir Timur living times, and the representatives of family of Amir Timur have been buried here, the generals, military generals too. But the necropolis had been found and established, being built next to the mausoleum, next to the tomb of Qasim ibn Abbas. Qasim ibn Abbas is a cousin of Prophet Muhammad. And people believed in the past that if they would be buried next to the tomb of holy men, their spirits would obtain the place next to him. That's for the huge cemetery had been appeared.
This site is also important not as an architectural landmark, but also as an important pilgrimage site for many people across Central Asia and beyond. The reason is because at the heart of the complex, there is a tomb of Qasim ibn Abbas, a close relative and brother of Prophet Muhammad, who is said to come to this region in the end of 7th century to spread Islam.
There are also different interpretations of the name of this marvelous complex, Shah-i-Zinda, which is often translated as the living king.
Shah-i-Zinda, which in Farsi would sound as a king alive, Shah alive. But I heard from one of the professors about another version, Shahid Zinda. Shahid is a person who didn't die with own natural death, but who was killed for certain doing mission of spreading of own religion, for example, in this case. Qasim ibn Abbas, unfortunately, he had been killed. According to the legend, he had been beheaded, and legend says that the earth crack appeared and he went downstairs, or somebody says that he went into the well, and that's for the name remained like Shah-i-Zinda, etc. In reality, once having been killed, and as he had his followers buried him on that place. And step by step, other followers, once they left this world, they had been buried around, and huge cemetery continued growing.
Now we are heading to the most famous square in Central Asia, the Registan. You've probably seen it on every postcard.
And no visit to Samarkand is fully complete without coming to Registan Square. This is the city's most famous landmark, and it's actually very hard to overstate how impressive it is to be here in person. You've probably seen this square on photos, but being here is a completely different experience.
This was once the center of life in Samarkand, where people gathered, studied, traded, and listened to royal announcements. The square is framed by 3 madrasas, each built at a different time, which is why they all feel slightly different, but still work together.
Registan is an architectural masterpiece and one of the clearest symbols of Samarkand's grandeur. It's located between three major madraseh, Ulugh-Bek, Sherdor and Tilakuri madraseh. The oldest of the three is the Ulugh-Bek madrasah, built by Ulugh-Bek in the 15th century. He is the grandson of Amir Timur, and he wasn't just a ruler, but also a scholar and astronomer. Behind me is the Sherdor madrasah, which was built in the 17th century, and it's one of the most recognizable madrasah on this Registan Square because of its lion or tiger images on its facade. And it's interesting that these kind of images are not very common in Islamic architecture, but here they are. This is Registan Square at night, and it feels much more atmospheric at this time of the day. Less crowds and more calm. So make sure to come to the square at night to enjoy the grandeur of these monuments.
All this exploring works up an appetite, and it's time to get some food. Because beyond the monuments and the history, this is where everyday life happens. It's in the flavors, the way dishes are prepared, the time people spend cooking and sharing meals together. First up is a dish you won't find on every street corner. It's called halisa.
I'm about to try halisa. This is a local dish. It includes wheat, which was prepared for more than 24 hours before it was mixed with the meat. So it's my first time trying it. So let's try it together and see how it tastes. Oh, the texture is very interesting. So I should do like this, I guess, right? Wow. Okay. It's very tasty. I can feel meat. It's like porridge. It tastes like porridge.
And then there is plov, probably the most well-known dish in Uzbekistan. It looks simple: rice, meat, carrots, onions, but every region does it differently, and in Samarkand the ingredients are layered rather than mixed. It's cooked slowly in a large cast iron pot called kazan, and the method really matters. It's one of those dishes that seems straightforward, but there is a lot of technique behind it.
Plov is a dish that combines rice, slowly cooked meat, carrots, and a lot of onion. What makes Samarkand stand out is the use of yellow carrot, and you can see it in this pot. This pot is called, this large iron cast pot is called kazan. This is where each kind of plov is being cooked.
Pro tip for the viewers: plov is traditionally a lunch dish. If you show up after 2 p.m., the kazan might already be empty. Okay, after a plate of plov that big, I'm officially in a food coma. And the only way to survive the afternoon is to walk it off. Luckily, in Samarkand, you don't have to go far to find something spectacular.
This is the Bibi-Khanym Mosque, one of Samarkand's most famous monuments and one of the greatest symbols of the Timurid era. UNESCO includes it in the list among major monuments that define Samarkand's World Heritage value.
The entrance portal and that towering blue dome are just mesmerizing. Even though it's been through so much, it still gives you this incredible glimpse into the artistic marvels of the past. Everywhere you look, it's richly decorated with tiles, paintings, and carved marble.
The mosque was built on the order of Amir Timur between 1399 and 1404 and was the largest mosque in Central Asia at that time.
There are so many legends about how this place appeared, stories of architects and secret kisses. But historians generally agree on the real story. Timur ordered this to be built immediately after he returned from his military campaign in India. He named it in honor of his favorite wife Bibi-Khanym, which was actually the nickname for Sarai Mulk Khanim.
Unfortunately, parts of the Bibi-Khanym Mosque suffered damage over the centuries, including from an earthquake. And when you visit the mosque, you can see the older parts and the latest restoration. But when you come closer to the mosque itself, you see the original parts of the mosque there.
Now, as incredible as this mosque is, it's actually thirsty work exploring it. And since the city's most famous market is literally right next door, let's go see where the modern heart of Samarkand is beating. It's loud, it's colorful, and it smells amazing.
And this is Siyob Bazaar, one of the most lively places here in Samarkand. You can find everything you want: dried fruits, fresh bread, spices, sweets, tea. But one important rule to keep in mind that you have to bargain, because when just expect it and don't be shy, some little negotiation, friendly negotiation is part of this experience.
I stumbled upon something really special that's only made this time of year. It's called sumalak.
We are trying now sumalak. This is a traditional dish that is particularly cooked and served in this period, in these months. I like the texture. It's not that sweet, but it's not sour. And you can see the wheat that is being used to prepare the dish. And as locals say, the whole cooking process of sumalak is a very, I'll say it's a very united process, because families and friends come together to cook this dish.
What's interesting about sumalak is how it's made. It's a total community effort. Families and friends get together to stir a massive pot for an entire day and night.
And it's being cooked from midnight to noon, so for 24 hours non-stop. So you can imagine the amount of efforts, the volume of efforts that has been involved in this process. One of the reasons that I like this kind of bazaars is that they connect the big historical story of Samarkand with the everyday life of local people. And after you take the tour around mosques and mausoleums, and by the way, this Siyob Bazaar sits just next to the Bibi-Khanym Mosque, you come here to feel the tastes, sounds, and flavors of everyday life of Samarkand city. So it should definitely be on your visit list.
We've spent the day looking at ancient mausoleums, monuments, and eating at Asian markets, but Samarkand isn't just a museum. There is a brand new side to the city that's looking straight into the future.
When people think of Samarkand, they usually imagine ancient monuments and Silk Road history, but there's also a new part of the city that reflects how Samarkand is evolving today. One of the most interesting projects here is the Eternal City. This is a cultural and tourism complex that is designed to recreate the Central Asian towns in the past. But this area is not only about culture and showcasing traditional crafts and arts. This district also hosts several 5-star and 4-star hotels, modern facilities, and a congress center that is designed to host major events. Seeing both sides together, the Silk Road heritage and this modern district and modern facilities shows how Samarkand is positioning itself today as both a historical destination and a contemporary meeting place.
Samarkand was a city of amazingly huge buildings, as mosques, caravanserais, palaces of Amir Timur, libraries, madrasas. Unfortunately, today we cannot show you all that magnificent buildings, but because many of destructions happened historically, but that what remained today and our government restored. paying huge attention to the idea to give a previous magnificent view to all constructions, because till 1991 all these buildings arrived in not so good conditions, and we started to do big restorations, and today all the world knows about Samarkand, Bukhara, Khiva, Tashkent, Shahrizabs, Temez, and Kokand cities, which make many travelers get a wish, get a dream to come to travel.
Walking through Samarkand today, I realized that this city isn't just made of stone and tile, it's made of the stories of everyone who passed through here. As the day ends, there is only one place to go for a final goodbye, back to the heart of it all.
And with Registan behind me at night so atmospheric, we come to an end of this beautiful episode from Samarkand that leaves us with history, beauty, grandeur, and a little bit of wonder. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories across Kazakhstan and Central Asia. This was Aselis Tubaldna reporting for the Astana Times.